Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Sean O'Malley, he is the champion of the UFC bantamweight division. And before the last pay-per-view, UFC 301 in Rio, right? The main event was Alexandre Pantoja versus Steve Erceg. And I believe it was Sean O'Malley's coach that came out and talked about, a sparring session that happened a few years back between Pantoja and O'Malley. And this was when O'Malley was, I don't even think he was,
I think
he wasn't even known.
He was
yet,
amateur,
right? Yeah, it was
right?
amateur from what it says. And the coach was talking about how that all transpired, right? And then the whole topic came out with, or discussion came out with, talking about what happens in sparring. And then they leaked the footage. Who leaked the footage?
Was it?
O'Malley did.
O'Malley
put it
leaked
out.
the
Yeah.
footage, right?
O'Malley-
So O'Malley's coach is the one who kind of put it out there.
Yeah,
into
he
the,
spurred it on or whatever.
Exactly,
But then
right.
O'Malley was the one that actually leaked the footage itself.
Right.
So what's your thoughts on that? And you guys, you're a coach, you're a fighter, coach. You've been to gyms, you've coached so many different fighters, you've seen hours and hours and hours of sparring and been involved in hours and hours of sparring as well. So, there's always people filming. Nowadays, there's more people filming than ever, right?
Yeah.
Because there's people just randomly coming through filming stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to control
Right.
filming, right? Especially in certain gyms where everything's open. But yeah, let's start with Max. Max, you're a fighter. You know what I mean? Footage being leaked and
Yeah.
and it's not, and it's a world champion, dude,
Yeah.
from years ago.
But it's also so different. First of all, that footage is so old. What's it matter? Why would you want to show it and everything? It's so long ago. You were in, O'Malley was an amateur and it was 2016, right? But even just the whole showing footage and everything, man, who cares what happens in training, right? We're working on new things constantly, right? We're game planning. We're trying to figure out what's going to work and what doesn't work and everything. The sparring is or anytime we're in the gym, we're working in a lab, right? We're testing. The amount of times that I get caught in a bad position or I get caught with something because I'm trying something new out so that it will work in a fight, right? And it's one of those things. It's that blue belt that taps the black belt and everything. And it's and then they're I tapped a black belt. And it's you tapped a black belt when he was going at 50% and trying something new because he's trying to level himself up and trying to put himself in new positions and work on things. And so it doesn't make any sense to me to A, brag about training or B, to even there's every situation. Really what matters is who shows up on fight day, right? You think, I think they said in the footage that Pantoja got dropped by a body kick or something in the.
But it didn't happen that way. Because
Yeah.
you watch the video, he just pauses and says, he took a shot to the stomach.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it's I think Thompson said you think he wouldn't fight through that in a fight? Of course he would.
Yeah.
It's the difference between hey, I'm in the gym, I'm in give me a second, versus doom, let's go, kind of thing. It's just different. And the reality is that if you're a professional athlete, the only thing that truly matters is who shows up on the fucking fight day. Everything else is testing. Everything else, is working a game plan, working new things, working seeing what works and what doesn't. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's learning environment versus competitive environment are going to be very different.
Yeah.
It's you sort of stick to whatever you're already subconsciously good at for the competitive environment. And so if you are trying to cultivate more stuff into your A game, like the learning environment, their training is the place to do it. And so you are going to make more mistakes. You're going to get exploited more because of it if you've got more skilled training partners. But like, that's kind of the point. You've got to stress test those things.
I've had ex-opponents become teammates.
Yeah.
And sparred with them, and they've caught me with things that they didn't catch me with in the fight. And it's like, well, yeah, because it's a more relaxed environment, because maybe I'm not playing my A game, or maybe, you know, they've added new tools since and everything. And it's like, hey, man, bad fucking luck that you didn't catch me with it in the fight, but you didn't, you know, and sometimes, you know, it's the difference of like, if I'm testing things out, then that's one thing. And we're working on new things constantly. On fight day, it's A game versus A game. And that's why it matters, right? Like,
Yeah, it's, to me, you know, as a observer of the sport, right? And when you have sport, like it's like football. Let's compare it to any other sport. Let's say basketball. Like in practice, you train against Jordan every day. Let's say Michael Jordan you're on Michael Jordan's team. You train against Michael Jordan every day, and you dunk on him.
Yeah.
Right? And you put your nuts in his face, right? And then you just release that footage.
yeah.
Right.
Do you respect the person that released the footage?
No.
No, because like you said, it's practice.
Yeah.
You like, is your emotions and your adrenaline pumping as much as in a fight when you're sparring? Is that something that happens to you as a fighter? And what about you? You know, you've sparred people. Does that happen to you? Do you feel that?
It's completely different. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember watching just back home and everything, watching two Muay Thai fighters go. And one of them was a close friend of mine. He's got cannons in his bloody hands, right? He drops people all the freaking time. That, in sparring, he's not going to hit you that hard, right? So he's going, and on a technical level, it looks like they're like tit for tat, or even like the one guy was like maybe landing the better shots or everything. But that's all style, right? My buddy is able to, you know, counter everything, and usually when he counters, when he lands, he's dropping you. But instead, he's hitting a little bit softer and a little bit like that and everything, and it's just like, it doesn't look the same.
Practice.
It's practice.
Exactly. Like,
you know,
you're not gonna go full blast, step back, and just launch a cannon on somebody in practice,
exactly.
right? Then
Well,
you're just a dickhead.
then you're
right?
just a dick. Yeah.
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 And that's
an
another
asshole,
thing.
and you're just a fucking. There's a bunch of those people out there, right?
Right.
Like, they don't know how to control themselves, and it almost, to me, I don't look at those people as like professionals.
Yeah.
They're not professional. If you're a professional, you know, like in practice, this is practice.
Yeah.
Everybody's here because they want to fight in a real fight, not like
Yeah,
they
they're
want to
trying
get
to-
in a real fight in the
Yeah.
gym.
Yeah, like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be like the practice room champion. It's like you don't
Yeah.
make money.
There's
off
so
of
many
that.
of those people. Though.
Oh yeah. Matt Warriors.
Yeah. There's so many, and they brag about it,
Yeah.
I know.
which is the fucking worst part.
I
Like
know.
hearing somebody brag about how they fucking went against this UFC fighter or Bellator fighter or PFL fighter or whatever fighter, and they're supposed to be from the biggest leagues, and they're like, yeah, man, I went in there and I did really well. And I was like, then why aren't you in the PFL?
Right.
Yeah.
Why aren't you in the UFC?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. If anything,
exactly.
like with those rounds, you're better off like if you have done a round with somebody who's like a high level or whatever, like in the UFC, you should like throw them some compliments and like respect them, and it says more about you in that sense. Where it's like, oh yeah, this dude was like really strong, super technical here, like great round or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, and
Man.
like that goes a much longer way for people, I feel.
When I was in the States and everything and training at Syndicate, or they would take me to the PI or wherever, right? I was the training partner for a lot of UFC fighters and everything. Whether I did good or bad didn't matter to me. It was the fact that they thought I was good enough to be their training partner, to level them up and get them better and everything. That's where I took that compliment. And that's like, I was like, oh man, like I'm really grateful that I got to train with this person and this person values me, right? Because that's what matters when, as a training partner, right?
Right.
That you have value to that fighter in their camp, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, you're a shit training partner if you go and you just like try to spark somebody out when they're getting ready for a fight. Like, what are you doing?
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
You know, because don't lie, Max. I'm pretty sure Max got some footage and he's gonna release it in 5 years. He's gonna release it in 5 years. Like, yeah.
Damn.
He's gonna be on some podcast. He's gonna be like, yeah.
If I got some footage, Max definitely has footage.
Max is in the UFC. He's about to crack the top 15, and some of those guys he's trained with in the past, and you have too, right?
I'm gonna start
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, I got some footage.
Yeah,
I got the footage.
As soon as Max is a world champ, I'm posting all my footage.
Just dumping them up.
It's just me flying.
That should be the rule, right? Be like, yeah, the teammates, you guys could just dump footage on each other.
But honestly, I would dump the footage. I mean, it's just Shay throwing me.
Yeah, it's like with the caveat that I know if I do that shit, I have to expect that it comes back my way too. So
Well, but that's what we do,
Yeah.
right? Is like whenever he and I have like our grappling rounds and everything, it's just he's posting himself throwing me. I post me maybe hitting a sub or like like hitting a sweep. It's just like.
But you guys working together like that is just, you know, it's expanding his understanding of the submission game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
On
sure.
top of the grappling and wrestling.
Yeah.
And then you're expanding on your wrestling,
Yeah.
takedown defense, takedowns,
Right.
angles,
100%.
entries. There's so much, there's so much to learn. It trips me out that, you know, we'll get into that. That's a long road. That's a long road, right? We've talked about it. But going back to O'Malley though, like his coach, like he's a coach.
Right.
I don't think coaches should be talking about that.
I
Like you discredit yourself.
That's really
in any way.
unprofessional in my
It's
opinion.
very unprofessional. He's a great coach.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
He's trained Sean O'Malley from nothing to something, from the bottom to the top or whatever, whatever. But, it's almost like, it almost reminds me of, this is going to be a comparison, same division. It almost reminds me of TJ Dillashaw and Dwayne Ludwig. Like, he doesn't really coach anybody else.
Yeah.
And Sean O'Malley has his own style, and he's coaching the style to him. But really, he doesn't have any other fighters that has used that style and become high level.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to downgrade him as a coach because obviously it's working.
Yeah.
But it kind of reminds me of that. You know what I mean? Really that close, like one coach, one fighter, together all the time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then, dude, they have the formula. It's magic. I love watching Sean O'Malley fight, right?
Yeah.
But the coach, man, you shouldn't even open that can of worms because that led to the release of the footage.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he would be lying about that. And why? Why even bring that up?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
well, that's what I don't understand. Like, also, it's two different weight divisions, man.
Yeah.
And O'Malley
He's
is
big.
yeah, he's not a
Even in
small,
that footage, he's big.
yeah, he's not a small bantamweight, right? Like he's a big boy, right?
Right, yeah.
So, no matter what, Pantoja is not going to be the same size, the same this, the same that, and it's like, I don't know. It's just being disrespectful to someone who like is a great flyweight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
He's all-time great flyweight.
yeah.
Dude, he cleaned out the division before he became the champion. Like, how
Exactly.
many dudes do that?
Yeah, that's badass.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
badass. And now he's going to fight the same guys again.
Right.
But yeah, like Sean O'Malley, I like what Sean O'Malley's doing. I like his success, you know what I mean? And he knows how to play the game. And he's like a representation of the new generation of like fans.
Right.
And I think if you put it into that context, this is something that the new generation of fans would enjoy. They would love it. They don't care
Yeah.
about the professionalism. That's all out the window, right?
Yeah.
They just care about, what did he say? What did he say? Is it real?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to put out the footage. I'm pretty sure the coach was attacked, bombarded with messages about release the footage. I guarantee it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just people just talking shit. You're a liar.
Right.
You know, you piece of shit.
And as someone that, like, I still grew up in like a old school kind of environment and everything. So that's like, the only time you release training footage is when something just stupid happens. Like, like somebody like throws a head kick and just lands on their ass. Like, and it's comical, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you're just kind of fucking around with a friend, right? But it's like, otherwise it's like, I don't know. I grew up with that same sort of like, come on, man. It's just the training room. We're all trying to get better. And then it also kind of kills that sort of like martial artist mentality.
Yeah.
Like the respect that comes behind it all.
Yeah, it's like I got footage of me one-upping this dude.
Yeah.
This is like a 10-second clip out of, like a 30-minute, 60-minute training session.
Exactly.
That's what I should start doing. I should start going to sparring and spar all the famous fighters and the ones that are like, everybody's like, yeah, they're the next big thing. And I would spar them. And then I would only need to land like 1 or 2 strikes. And I'll just take those clips and save them.
Hey, that was that's a legit trend on, I think, Instagram or TikTok or something at the moment, where so it's like there's 2 fighters, one's like clearly outclassing the other one, right? So like there's the guy who's ends up losing, throws like a good combo, actually lands something, takes a freeze frame screenshot of him landing the punch, but then what happened in the actual video was literally as soon as he landed that punch, there came 2 back and one of them knocked him out. Yeah. But then he uploaded the one of him landing the punch, and then it was like captioned this like fire emoji, this, that, or the other thing, and it's like, come on, dude, you got knocked out half a second after.
Yeah, but that's a great technique for someone like me. I'm not a fighter, right? But then I interview all the fighters.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stalk all this footage of me, all the people that are coming through, just train, like I'm just sparring them, and I land a leg kick. I just take that one footage and put it out there, like, yeah, I worked him.
Yeah, and then some caption like, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself.
Yeah. He wasn't championship level then. He's not championship caliber now.
Or some shit like every dog has its day. Or something like that.
It's like George. It's like George and Volk, right?
Oh, yeah,
Volk and George did the tryouts the same year. I think it was 2014. And nobody knew who these people were gonna be. They were just like young fighters. 2014. That's like 10 years ago. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And Volk, they did some kind of like grappling tournament at the end of the tryouts, right? He beat Volk.
So he was on top of the podium. Volk
Yeah,
was like second
exactly,
or third
exactly, right?
Yeah,
So
I
like,
think I remember seeing that.
So like that, he rubs that in Volk's face. You know what I mean? Imagine if he had the footage on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't make me release the tapes.
Exactly, right? And he'd always talking shit to Volk about like, dude, don't make me fucking dust off the, don't make me cut weight. Don't make me lose some weight. Don't let me cut weight. But yeah, it's crazy that, that Volk, they weren't going to give him a sponsorship until I think the whole like Songkran scandal or scramble thing that they did, that tournament.
Oh, right.
And he got second place, and they're like, okay, maybe we should give him. It would imagine if
that is pretty crazy.
Imagine if they just fucking like,
yeah, no, we don't want you. And then now he's a UFC
yeah,
champion.
it's like pound for pound, great and shit. It's fucking wild. But going back to the like releasing footage, I don't think you should release footage at all unless it's unless it's footage of, that is between you and somebody that you're cool with, and then you guys decide to release the footage. But if you're just like Pantoja, man, there's nothing you can say. It's just like, dude, we were fucking training.
Yeah.
And that was like 10 years ago.
I don't even think he needs to say anything.
No, he doesn't.
He's just like, well,
but he'll probably end up going on Ariel Helwani, and Ariel will be like, well, we just saw the footage of, you know what I mean? You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And he's just like, Pantoja reacts to sparring footage of Sean O'Malley knocking him out.
And then it's like all that hype, and the reality is he's just like, hey, bro, we were just training.
Exactly.
It's like, it's not gonna be any like crazy
and
reaction.
Pantoja's the type of guy that he would get hurt, and he levels up.
Yeah.
In the pain.
Yeah.
Remember?
After he got
did I say it to you guys? He's a hyena. In real life.
Yeah.
He is. He's a hyena in real life. I hope that catches on, but he probably won't like that too much.
The hyena.
But O'Malley's on his way to becoming an all-time great. Pantoja's probably an all-time great flyweight already. You know what I mean?
Right.
He just defend a couple more times, he just solidifies it,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, footage, man. I don't even like. They're sparring when? What days are sparring days? MMA sparring days?
Now it's Tuesdays and Friday.
Tuesdays and Fridays, right? Which is good. I think that's a good move.
Yeah.
And I barely ever go watch sparring. And then when I do, there's so many people just on the wall just watching, right?
Right. And like
it's free entertainment.
Yeah.
To be honest
If someone gets dropped in sparring, for example, it's kind of like, why? Like why would you do that to somebody like at this point in time, it's not benefiting.
I mean, sometimes it.
Well,
just
the body
happens,
shots
right?
is
Yeah.
different.
Yeah,
The body shots is
Yeah.
different. But if you're fucking throwing head kicks,
Yeah.
full blast on people,
Yeah.
like unnamed fighter gets fucking head kicked 2 weeks before his fight and smashes his nose. It's like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, this dude has a fight in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you throwing head kicks? Like, full blast, like. There's no reason for you to get your nose broken from a head kick unless the dude, even with the shin guards on, is throwing full blast. Like,
But I've had that before where I've been in camp and dude's like, "Oh man, like let me help you with your camp," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And first fucking round I go with them, they just go pop boom, and I'm like rocked, and I'm like, why? Like, why are you trying to knock me out? That doesn't help me. Like, it's like
It's just-
game planning helps me. Like working the technique,
Yeah.
like having a good round, but not trying to like split my head open like a coconut. Like, come on, man.
you guys know what to do. It's just getting your mind and body prepared for that.
Yeah.
Right.
For that, you know.
Yeah,
for
to
that
like to
sequence.
execute those
Yeah,
things like under
exactly.
high stress. That's
Exactly.
the challenge.
And it's like building your confidence in those skills or techniques or whatever you need to utilize.
Yeah.
And that's what the camp is for, and to stay healthy. You know what I mean? Like, it's nuts to me. Like, sometimes you go to like other like camps or you see footage of like dudes are like 3 weeks out just going full blast on each other.
Right.
I'm just like, what are you doing? Like,
You're so close to that fight.
and you're concussed you're concussed going into the fight.
Right. That's ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure there's been so many fighters at the highest level are concussed going into a fight.
And that's the reason why they probably get like knocked out within the first round or some shit.
yeah.
It's like, I swear, part of the reason why we see like first round knockouts sometimes, it isn't even like, you know, especially those ones where it's like, looks like it barely hits them and then they just go. And it's like poor weight cutting or like they're already concussed.
Yeah, it's
There was a
nuts.
boxer that just died not too long ago because he came into a fight concussed.
Oh, right. I do remember that. I think I saw that headline.
Yeah,
That's
it was
crazy.
only a couple like weeks or months ago.
Yeah. It does bring up another interesting thing though, where like you feel like the shelf life of some of these videos really should not be that long.
Yeah.
Because everything changes so quickly in MMA. So for example, I was thinking about the first year I got to Phuket, right? Like 2019, about 5 years ago. Based on where some of these fighters are now, like Brad Riddell got his contract for the UFC that year. Rafa got his first fight in the UFC that year. I think Volk only got his, not only, but like he was about to get his title shot. I think towards the end of that year, it was like leading up to the first fight with Holloway. Some people who train now didn't even train 5 years ago. So it's just like that difference with how much time passes. So like to get footage of something that happened like about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, or however long it was, it's like, how much of a difference do you really expect it to make, right? Like, because obviously Pantoja's not going to have the same mistakes from 8 years ago. Or if he does, that's like a pretty big red flag you've got to address like almost immediately.
I don't think he would have cleared out the flyweight division if he had the same
Yeah.
mistakes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Right? It's like if you make the same mistakes from 8 to 10 years ago, it's like there's something wrong with your progression.
bro, in the training room, it's honestly, it should just be you against you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the me now, rightfully so, would have kicked the shit out of the me from a year ago.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the only thing I care about. I'm getting better, right? Okay, so this guy caught me with something. So this guy did something. Like, maybe, you know, like, there's a million factors that go into sparring, that go into this, that go into that even go into fight day,
Yeah.
right? So, at the end of it all, as long as you are leveling up and you're becoming your best version and everything, why the fuck are you showing footage of
Right.
that process? The process sucks. None of us enjoy that process, right? Like, of course we do it because we love it, but like fight camp,
Brutal.
fight camp's brutal. fight camp, so I'm in fight camp. It sucks, right?
Yeah, I mean, even from our rolling footage from like week to week to week, it's like there's stuff I do from week 2 that I can't get anymore in week 4 or week 5 unless I add more setups to it, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like how it's supposed to go.
Yeah, it's
But-
because I'm smart.
Yes, exactly.
Ish.
Now I gotta play goddamn chess before I get to your leg.
Damn straight.
Yep.